Good job today, man. It's one at a time, and we'll get the job done. Y'all know what to say. On three. 1, 2, 3.
And the home of the Jets.
Mr. JetsCentral, what is going on, my friend?
What up? What's going on, Tyson?
Dude, we got the 53-man roster. We're finally, like, the season's around the corner now, man. Now you can kind of feel it where it's like we're there. Like, this is like the final straw. Then we're going to be talking about the 49ers, which is pretty cool.
100%, man. 100%. I think based off the 53, like, I'm feeling good about it. I think there's a lot of positions where we're deep at. There's a lot of positions that we got a lot better in, obviously in free agency, also through the draft too, you know, running back specifically, and also edge, right? Well, I guess technically not, because it was after the draft that we got all these new players. But dude, I'm feeling good, man. And also, I just want to throw this in there as well. I don't want to make too big of a deal, you know, I don't want to, you know, blow it up too much, but I do think it's pretty interesting that the Niners, and also too, we have so much time before, you know, that game, but I think it's pretty interesting that the Niners have a lot of question marks right now with Trent Williams and Christian McCaffrey's injury, and Leonard Floyd, I think, is getting an MRI this week at some point. The Brandon Ayuk situation as well. It just kind of seems like there's a lot of noise surrounding that franchise. So maybe we catch them kind of slipping.
No, I'm looking forward to all of it. Now we have an early comment to start it off. Ian, I have no thumbs, and I feel like I can catch a football better than Zach Kuntz, and I mean that sincerely. Yeah, I'm glad he's gone. He's a pretty bad football player. So what we'll do is we'll start from top to bottom, go throughout the roster, share your thoughts. The quarterback position, no surprise whatsoever. You're not keeping three. I think if they try to get a third quarterback, it'd probably be Martinez over Peasley. I'm not sure if you'd agree with that or not, or if you have an eye on somebody else outside of the team.
No, I mean, I'm cool with that. I mean, ultimately, I think the Jets are in a good spot because Peasley at times looked impressive. Martinez looked impressive. I think if I was making the decision, I would go with Adrian. But, you know, in the event that Adrian gets claimed, I mean, the Jets can go out and target a Michael Pratt, who they loved in the pre-draft process. He was cut from Green Bay. Now, of course, like, the Jets have to wait through the entire, you know, waiver wire, you know. So, you know, we'll see who exactly the Jets have an opportunity to go land as far as the waivers are concerned. And also, too, if either of those guys are picked up. But Martinez, I think, ultimately will be on the practice squad. And then in the event of a Rodgers injury or a Tyrod injury, you would just call Martinez up.
Yeah, so the running back position is the first spot where I have kind of a question. Now, keep in mind, Hassan Reddick did not report. He's not a part of the roster yet, so you have that extra spot to kind of screw around with. But they kept Izzy. Now, Izzy did show a lot of improvement throughout camp. Preseason game, a nice touchdown run. You like him. He's obviously drafted by Joe Douglas, so he gets a favor there. But to me, keeping 4 running backs, if Izzy's not going to contribute on special teams, it's kind of like, I'm not really sure if that's the best value you can get. Or maybe he's a trade candidate. He's going to get a trade value or not. But did you like keeping 4 running backs?
I think what was interesting was they put Yeboah on the IR, on like that injured, you know, the injured list.
Yep.
So you're essentially rolling with 2 quarterbacks and then 2 tight ends. So 4 players total in those 2 positional groups, where in the past we see 3 quarterbacks and 3 tight ends.
Yep.
So that's, I don't really look at it as the like the whole Reddick situation. I think because we only got the 2 tight ends, that's where we probably threw that extra roster spot with Izzy. I mean, and also too, like, you got to imagine, you know, once Yeboah gets healthy, I think they're not going to make a cut on the defensive side. They'd make a cut on the offensive side.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But do you like that allocation of resources? Because me personally, you mentioned the tight ends. Like, I kind of thought Ferkshire had a chance of making it because veteran tight end, a lot of experience. Ruckert's kind of inconsistent with his injuries. Having that third tight end's a nice asset to have that can actually help on game day. You know, is he going to contribute on special teams? Like, do you like that having him there?
To be honest, like I don't really mind it too much. I like ultimately it's not the way I kind of view it is the Jets had players this offseason.
Right.
And this 53 are the handpicked ones from this coaching staff. And also, too, things are subjected to change. We could see a different lineup tomorrow. Like, that's what happened last season, right? Where the 53 was like immediately changed the next day.
Right.
But it's not like in years past, specifically the first 2 years of the Saleh regime, where it's like, do we have enough players and let's compile a 53? This year kind of seems like we had more than enough players for 53, and we have to let guys go that we don't necessarily want to let go.
Right.
So, I think if Izzy makes if this decision is final and, he's not off the team tomorrow or something, I'm trusting the coaching staff, right? Because they literally had to part ways with a bunch of really good young football players, Ferkser included. So, it is what, and this is their top choice, their decision, this path that they're deciding to go down. So because of that, I really don't mind it.
Now, the wide receiver group, welcome, Michael Torres. How you doing, man?
But Mike,
the wide receiver group was interesting because there's a lot of arguments back and forth about Brownlee or Charles. How do they handle that? They actually ended up keeping both of them. Now, Irv Charles, I understand because obviously Brant Boyer loves him. Great special teams player, has some potential. Brownlee, apparently Rodgers loves. He always mentions him, and he's shown flashes. So you have 7 receivers, which could be kind of like a insurance policy for Mike Williams being on a pitch count early on. But do you think this group is kind of like a final thing, or they can look to the open market and be like, you know what? There's some guys out there that could be an upgrade over Brownlee or Charles. Do you look at it like that or no?
See, I would say yeah, but I think the one that probably made the most sense was Tim Patrick.
Yeah, he's gone.
But Patrick's gone. But it's kind of like you have to ask the question: how is Tim Patrick gone? Because he got all the way down to the Lions in the waiver order. So the Jets literally said no. We'll pass on him. So if they're doing that with the top guy that I feel like maybe made the most sense, somebody that's worked with Hackett before in the past, I think they'll probably pass on pretty much every other wide receiver. I think Terrace Marshall's interesting because he had a really good day against the Jets, and he also provides a lot of speed, which is something that I really don't feel like the Jets vertical speed, like down the field.
Yep.
Mike Williams has a little bit of it, but I think I would say Marshall's probably faster at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Gibson isn't catching 60-yard, bombs down the field.
He should be.
Yeah, but I think that would be interesting. But I feel like there's maybe a couple teams maybe in front of the Jets that could use that they would take a swing on a guy in Terrace Marshall.
Yeah, no, I agree. Brandon Smith, I think, is an excellent practice squad candidate. The last 3 games comes up clutch with the big catches downfield. Has ability, but he's not good enough at this point to make the 53. But definitely a guy you want to see stashed in a practice squad. Offensive line, I don't think there's any surprises whatsoever. I mean, that was pretty much as expected. So the offense as a whole, I mean, the Jets have a lot of playmakers, man. You feel comfortable with their skill position players. They're loaded. I think the key right now is Mike Williams is back in practice. I guess apparently today he's starting to slowly work his way back in the team, which is great. Other than that, it's just like everybody's healthy, man. Like bring on the 49ers on offense, right?
Yeah, dude, 100%. And I see a comment here from K-Dude. So Tim Patrick actually got picked up by Detroit.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. So Armin just brought that up. Brian, we need to pick up a tight end 3.
I agree.
So you do agree with that, huh? Yep. I feel like it would be Ferkser would be the first call, but they had that option today and they didn't do it,
They have to have their eye on somebody. So that's where the 4 running backs and 2 tight ends doesn't make sense to me. It's just, and I don't have I'm already getting messages like, bro, you just hate Izzy. I don't hate Izzy. I like him, but I also like Davis, Allen and Brees and Ruckert, which we love Ruckert and his potential. He's got to show it. He tends to get hurt a lot. I want to have that other guy. I guess they're hoping that was Yeboah, but he's hurt. And I guess in your world, you're right. If Yeboah is only out 4 more weeks, he comes back, you plug him in there, and then you move on, I guess, right?
Yeah, so I wonder when the waiver order starts, right? Like, I guess it would be immediately right after that player's cut, right? Because they would be placed on waivers, and then boom, it's a call. I wonder how long each team has to, make it
tomorrow, don't you?
Well, I don't know. I mean, because if Tim Patrick already, got scooped up at the Lions, and because the Lions are bottom, I want to say bottom 6 or 7 in the waiver,
Yep.
claim. So they had to pass through 20 something teams to already get to Detroit. So
Yeah.
they must be cycling through with every single player. But the reason why I bring it up is because of K-Dude's recent comment there. Would you take a flyer on Lewis Seen? He
Yep.
would. Because that was a guy, former first round pick, a lot of potential coming out of Georgia, but
Yep.
I think he's missed so much time
Yep.
because of injury. So, safety, I would say weakest, or maybe not weakest position, but one of the thinner positions on the football team.
Yeah.
And Seen is a guy who doesn't really fit the Quandre Diggs, Eddie Jackson, Justin Simmons mold of them being like an older veteran.
Nope.
Seen is a guy who actually hasn't seen football. The other guys have seen a bunch. So he's an interesting option.
Yeah. Jordan Travis is not going to be playing anytime soon. He's a true work in progress. He is just not healthy enough right now. I'd be shocked if he even plays at all this year. I just don't see it happening. He hasn't been in OTAs. He hasn't been in training camp. He hasn't been in preseason. He's just literally just watching.
Yeah. And well, I think another thing too, it's, the Jets should have expected this.
Yep.
He was drafted. I think he broke his leg in late November in college. It's not like he hurt his ankle in training camp or something, and everything is now set ablaze. Like the Jets knew that because he wasn't working out for the Jets.
Right.
It's not like they had to put him through a throwing workout. He hasn't even had one full-on team drill with the squad this offseason. So, he's definitely not going to be, out there practicing like this week or anything. So
defensive side of the ball. What's up, Richard? How you doing, man? Yeah. We're giving shouts to Joe Douglas now. What are we doing? What is one big happy Jet family today? Defensively, really interesting because the defensive line against the Giants completely erupted, 8 sacks, and they were just disruptive. Tack McKinley, McGregor, Watts. I mean, they were Taylor a third. They were flying around, be like, all right, this is great to see this, but can we keep all of them? And you had the fear of if you release one of them, they're going to get picked up elsewhere. And lo and behold, with Reddick not being here, they all made it, which is awesome, dude, because they've all earned it, and you have a surplus of pass rushers. I think the one question was Michael Clemens. Would they do anything with him? But they seem very loyal to him. They keep selling us. He's lost weight. He's a good run stopper, which we'll see starting week 1. But were you surprised they kept everybody in the defensive line? I'm assuming that when Reddick comes, Watts will probably be the odd man out, but I'm not sure what you think.
Yeah, I would probably have to say the same. It really feels like McGregor, and it's not any sort of disrespect to Watts whatsoever. I love him as well, but it feels as though at this point, the Jets coaching staff likes or maybe prefer, or essentially McGregor would be higher up on the depth chart.
Yep.
Leonard Taylor obviously is on the inside, but it's kind of feels like it's McGregor then Eric Watts. Yep. But what's cool too is once the Reddick situation does get figured out, you can then just move on from Eric Watts and then just stash him on the practice squad at 100%. That point. So that is a positive.
Yeah, and then, Reddick, conveniently, the last 2 days of posting videos of him training. It's no surprise, man. I think I'm hoping by Labor Day, but I've been saying that for about a week now, so I'm just hoping he gets in the building. I mean, they've got to be close, man. I mean, you're, a week and a half away from the first game?
Dude, it's so tough, man, because it's like Reddick has had no contact. He doesn't, he doesn't know I would assume that the Jets probably sent him over the playbook when they first got him.
You would think.
But is Reddick really going to be coming in on day one, just boom, a master of the system? I'm not sure. I mean, maybe a little bit. Like he is a really productive veteran who's had success on multiple teams, so he might be able to pick it up faster than like just like a typical rookie. But no contact, doesn't know the team, doesn't know guys' tendencies playing next to him, doesn't know Ulbricht's tendencies as a play caller. So. And we were texting about it, earlier on in the week. Probably a limited pass rushing role in week 1 or week 2.
Yeah, I mean, and he's still great, but it's like you want to be football shape too. He's got to prove he can be in shape, handle the physicality of the game. This is one Tanzel Smart I've liked always, but there's so much talent on the line. While he's a good player, he's just not good enough for here. I'm hoping like if he goes to practice squad here, it's great. I hope he gets a spot somewhere to play though, man. I think he's earned it at this point.
Yeah, I mean, selfishly, I want to keep him on the practice squad as long as possible,
Yep.
just because. Look, I guess maybe another surprise was Lecky Fotu on the IR.
Yeah, that was
Which is also, that also opens up another roster spot because I wasn't expecting that. I did know he was banged up in the last week after the Giants game.
Yep.
But as far as, him actually having to miss multiple regular season games, that's obviously like, I wasn't expecting that. But, again, I like Tanzel Smart. I want him on the Jets, but if he winds up elsewhere, of course, I'm going to be pulling for him. But I want him on the practice squad because I feel like he's a guy that one guy gets hurt, you can promote him, and the drop off isn't this massive. Like, oh my god, the team is just going to run down the Jets' throats.
Yeah, I love the way he plays the game, man. So you go from defensive line, very encouraging. I mean, you have a ton of talent there. Linebackers, I was wondering if they were going to go Surratt or Barnes, but Saleh loves Surratt for his speed, his versatility. And Barnes is coming on, man. Like, he's really had a pretty good preseason here where you're like, all right, we didn't know what he was last year. Now you're slowly finding out what he really is as a player, and it's encouraging. So they kept 5, which is interesting.
See, I felt like that was I felt like linebacker, corner, and safety all pretty much went as expected. Maybe Isaiah Oliver. I personally was a big fan of what Jalen Key showed in the preseason.
Yep.
Thought he was just he just looked polished, knew where to be, always run the ball, can make tackles in open field, and he was also a draft pick by the team. And in recent years, you just don't really see the Jets just cut their draft picks. Zach Kuntz was the only one that I think
he deserved it.
Was Kuntz undrafted?
He was drafted. Wasn't he like a late round pick? Yeah.
Yeah, he might have been a 7th rounder. It's slipping my mind, but I was impressed with what Jalen Key. I thought he looked like a 4th or a 5th round pick, like in a couple of those games, and he was also getting preseason starts too. Isaiah Oliver obviously made the cut, and Oliver, does have the edge as far as experience, but also he's played with Jeff Ulbrich back in Atlanta, so there is some carryover there.
Yeah, none of the
was a 7th rounder.
Yeah, none of the corners surprised me either. Like, I liked Eccles. I mean, Stiggers has done a really good job where you like what you see out of him. Bernard Converse, converted safety to corner, versatile. He was a little banged up, but he made it, so you feel good there. Like, no surprises. Now, the one interesting thing, you're going to hate me for this, but I'm going to say it anyway, is they decided to trade Codrington to the Buffalo Bills for a swap of late-round picks in 2026. I have 2 thoughts on that. First of all, it's almost like Joe Douglas got too cute. Was that a late-round swap of picks in 2026 to the Buffalo Bills that important to send a kick return to them as they need one? Like, that guy should come back and bite you in the ass. You send him to a division rival for, like, is that, you know what I mean? Like, that 7th-round pick 2 years not really going to matter to you that you send him to a division rival? And then the second thing is, I actually liked him as a returner where it's like, all right, I'm not keep going back to Izzy, but whatever, pick a player, whoever it is if Codrington could be a very versatile returner for you, explosive, and a new kickoff, which seems like there's plays to be had there, is that more important than having a 4th running back that's not going to play ever and not really contribute? Or like Watts, that's where Codrington was kind of interesting. I'm not saying he's a superstar, but he showed a lot. Your Corley hasn't really shown a lot yet. Gibson has been a little shaky. I don't know. What'd you think about
that? Not really a big fan of it. I mean, to me, the trade, it just sucks that he's going to Buffalo. Like, there's really no other way around it. And look, I don't want to make it sound like Buffalo got, Devin Hester or anything, right? We have to, of course, take everything with a grain of salt. It was just one preseason that we've seen Codrington, playing. But at the same time, like, in 3 preseason games, and you're able to turn heads, make plays multiple times, show acceleration, show burst, and with this new special teams rule implemented, it's pretty much saying, okay, special teams is actually going to play a bigger role than in recent years. So, a guy like that, they don't grow on trees, right? Those, super fast, super explosive players that can make guys miss an open field. They excel in both kickoff and punt return. And now that's kind of the same type of position as opposed to in recent years where maybe you excel in one, but not the other. It's tough, but to me, like, the move says, that the Jets probably were going to cut him, and they had conviction that he was going to get picked up immediately. So they're like, you know what, let's just try to get something for him. But that could very well, bite the Jets, in the end, because if you're a team of the Buffalo Bills, another win now team, you're not going to just go trade away a pick and then, acquire this guy and then cut him tomorrow. Like you have a plan for him,
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I knew Isaiah Davis did look good returning kicks. Niesler had fair catch a little better though. He wasn't fair catching at all. I'm taking huge hits. The backup kicker, Greg the Leg, missed 2 kicks last weekend, which was kind of weird. But I guess Cyber got signed somewhere. I didn't see if he did or not.
Yeah, I don't know. That actually reminds me. Let me maybe it'll be a good idea if I pull up Twitter just to see if there's any sort of trades or any sort of news that comes out here, just to kind of have it on in the background.
So this question we got a lot is: anyone interested in bringing in Mike White? I don't want Denzel Mims. I'll pass on him. Mike White, you love the story, but like, what do you're bringing for the practice squad at what, the league minimum? Like, if he wants to come for that, I'm cool with it. Other than that, I'm not spending $3-4 million on him. You don't need to, right? I mean, it's just.
Yeah, well, another thing too is that Mike White, we have to ask the question, why did he excel when he was with the Jets initially? It's because he really was this nice system fit in Mike LaFleur's system. Yep. He did a really good job of just taking care of the ball, getting through his reads, delivering accurate passes to the open player. Yep. I felt like he did a really good job of just managing the game. And now we're looking at the Jets, bunch of different players, new offensive system, new play caller. Yes, of course, there's carryover with Robert Saleh and Mike White's maybe practice habits going up against that solid led Jets defense. Yep. Knows Ulbricht's tendencies, but I think Mike White probably makes a lot of sense for the LA Rams.
That's a good one.
So yep. I just don't know if Hackett, would be into it, because despite Mike White looking good, it wasn't with him.
Yeah, I mean, you're right now. It's like you have Tyrod and Aaron Rodgers. If we get to a third quarterback, we got bigger issues, man. Like and I think in terms of money allocation, you don't want to spend any more money at the quarterback position. So
yeah, and another thing too is I'm not anti Mike White. I love Mike White.
Yeah, me too.
And if something does like if news comes out tomorrow that the Jets sign him, I'm gonna be pumped.
Yep.
But I just don't think Hackett is like, get him on the phone right now. We need him.
All right, thank you, K Dude. When Fotu, Reddick, and Yeboah come back, who are the first 3 you cut to make room for those guys? Also, you guys are awesome. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you for watching, first of all. Thank you for the 5. All right, so 3 guys come back, 3 have to go. Oof, man.
So I'm probably going to say, God, as much as I hate to say it, Izzy's probably going to be 1.
Watts.
Izzy will probably go for Yeboah. Watts will probably go for Reddick. And then with Fotu, it's tough, man, because it's like you're not going to cut Solomon.
Nope.
You're not going to cut Quinnen or Kinlaw. Mm-mm. So Leonard Taylor, but
that's
who
risky.
knows? Yeah, it's risky as hell, because Leonard Taylor is somebody who, if you put him on the practice squad, you might as well trade him, because he's going to be getting claimed, I would say, pretty quickly.
What about Brownlee or Irv Charles there? You got 7 receivers, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is a good point. That is a good point. I find it weird though to take, subtract from the opposite side of the football. You know what I'm saying? Right.
It's a surplus. Honestly, 7 receivers is a lot, man.
It is, but I mean, you have to ask the question: why did they do that? Yeah. Unless there's some sort of plan here. But Clemens maybe, yeah. But the thing is with Fotu is that he's that inside guy. So, if they go out and I guess you could kind of take your pick. The Jets, it really just depends on how much they want to rotate. Yeah. And also how good does Reddick look? If Reddick looks amazing, then maybe it is smart to kind of keep him on the field a little bit longer. But if he looks rusty, if he like shows up and he's just not in football shape, or he's just getting completely, wiped off the map as far as like offensive tackles just completely manhandling them, then it's like, you know what? Maybe we should keep that extra edge.
See, to me, it's like if you look at, if I'm going to cut Brownlee or Taylor the third, who would get picked up by somebody else? I'm thinking Taylor probably gets picked up. I don't think Brownlee does. So in terms of
Yeah.
losing a player, I take that chance with Brownlee. Like, all right, if we lose you, we lose you. That sucks, but I don't want to lose a defensive stud in the middle. You know what I mean?
It's a good point. It is a good point.
So, but yeah, that's a good question though. But overall, if you look at the roster in general, now again, it's a work in progress. A lot's going to happen over the next week or so. What would you say? You would you say is the strength? The defensive line is your strength?
Oh yeah, dude. D line and O line, I think are the two, and quarterback too. I mean, and we've talked about this a lot in a bunch of streams. You're never going to be A+ at every position. Like
Right.
you can talk about the Niners or the Chiefs or take your pick, Baltimore. Like there's going to be, oh, that's an A+, that's an A+, that's a C-.
Yeah.
It might be a D+. We might need to, next draft go out and select our first round D tackle or something like that. You're never going to have a perfect team from top to bottom. But with that said, I feel really, really good about where the Jets are. I think we're so much better compared to this point last season. And that's not even really including the injuries as well. That's just, looking at like including the depth with it as well. And also factoring in the Jets being healthy to start last season. But, I still have my questions over coaching and play calling and game planning and leadership as well. But I think the Jets are going to be really good, man. And it's not me just saying that to hype it up. Like this year feels, and I said this last year too, but this year feels different.
Now, where would you say is positions that an area of concern for you? Like spots where you're like, all right, they have talent, but makes you a little bit nervous.
I would say probably safety.
Yeah, see, I would say safety, tight end, and wide receiver. Wide receiver makes me nervous, dude. I think you're a Garrett Wilson injury, God forbid, of getting a little bit nervous of what they're going to bring to the table. If Mike Williams isn't 100% yet, if you're counting on Mike Williams and Alan Lazard, like that's just a lot of unproven guys. Corley's a rookie, Brownlee, Irv Charles, a lot of guys there.
Yeah. Larry, why do you think that, man? Why do you think the Jets are going to suck?
Some guys, they just believe that. Like, I bought in last year. I don't want to get burnt again.
Yeah, it's totally fair. Nobody's right or wrong. I mean, only time will tell. But, hell yeah, let's go, Davis. But for me, man, like, I just felt like a Justin Simmons acquisition, or like one at Quandre Diggs acquisition, like that move would just do so much for the team, as opposed to adding, just another offensive lineman or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, and the one thing is, and I get that. That's one of the things I get a lot of comments in my videos is that they like the team. They have concerns about Saleh and Hackett. And that's especially the way Saleh game manages, and Hackett's play calling. The defensive side, you have no worries. Special teams, you have no worries at all. It's just like, you have to have a lot of faith in Aaron Rodgers to kind of overcome and hold a little more accountability on offense. And I think you kind of believe they're going to do that, right? Because it seemed like they've had a very hard training camp. It very well planned out. And I think having Tyrod there is a big difference too, where Rodgers couldn't play. Zach was in and Simeon and Tim Boyle. The offense went to hell. Now it's like Tyrod's a professional not top level, but a quality quarterback where there's not a big drop off. Remember, you're going to run the offense the same way. Guys are going to get good passes. So I think that helps as well.
Yeah. And there's 2 points. So one, to kind of build off of that, I think the Jets are going to be running the ball a lot more, so it's going to take pressure off of these quarterbacks to throw it 40 times, even though Hackett loved throwing the football last season, which made no sense, especially because they were all short passes with the quarterback question marks, the bad O-line. Like, I think we were third in passing ratio compared to running the football,
right.
Like how much we pass per game. Not third in like passing yards and stuff like that.
I wish.
Obviously. Yeah, I know. But then secondly, the one comment that I see all the time, which just kind of gets to me, is, Hackett won't be calling the plays. It's essentially Rodgers, right? And it's Rodgers is just going to change what Hackett does, which I get, and that might be true, but that should not be the plan going into a season. When we're talking about the NFL, the National Football League, offensive coordinator, his offense, his play, his game planning, his system, his play calls, and are like, again, if this is true internally, Saleh, Rodgers, like, okay, the plan is to change exactly, change the majority of what the offensive coordinator is calling. Like that to me is just like laughable. In the sense of like planning, like what are you even doing? Because to me, it's like if you're talking about again the National Football League, the best of the best, these guys are getting paid millions. They need to be able to elevate the players. Like that's what I want from my coaches. Elevate the players. Some players develop quicker than others, but some you can just have that instant success with. And of course, if you're working with Rodgers, he's going to provide things and bring stuff to the table. But if it's like 90-10, Rodgers doing 90% of the work offensively, and Hack is just kind of there as like some sort of like figurehead. I'm the offensive, like he's just holding the title. That to me is just like every play is an audible. I just don't understand that logic from an organizational standpoint. I don't mind Rodgers doing that. I think it's really cool. I think it's just a testament. It's a feather in the cap of A-Rod, right? He's just that good. But wouldn't it be cool if we had an OC that also helped? The way I'm kind of picturing it is Tom Brady and Bruce Arians. It was a collaborative effort. Arians lifted Brady. Brady bailed out Arians at times, but it wasn't Brady just F this dude. These plays, I'm changing everything.
Well,
this
doesn't work. The game plan's supposed to maximize the potential of your players. That game plan's like, all right, this is the defense's weakness. This is how we're going to attack it. And then you have options. All right, do this or do that. But this is our mindset going into this game. And that's what Hackett's got to provide him. And you hope that Saleh this year apparently is a lot more involved, where he looks over and it's like, all right, this even makes sense. Like, all right, let's do this. Let's use Brees in the passing game, which they learned last year, week 9 or whatever the hell it was. Like, let's use our resources correctly. They have a lot more of them. But I also think having the leadership of Morgan Moses and Tyron Smith and Mike Williams, there's a lot more input now. We're like, listen, this blocking scheme is nonsense. This ain't going to work. Like last year, a lot of guys that didn't know what the hell they were doing, where it's like, all right, coach, I believe you. Meanwhile, guys are running free, hitting the quarterback. I think this year's a lot more feedback. Like, listen, this scheme's going to work. This will work better for us. And you can be like, all right, you know what? I trust them because they've been here. Tyron Smith's been in the league how many years? 15 years or whatever it is. So I have a little more faith in that. But yeah, Rodgers isn't going to be audibling all the time, but he's going to take his chances. But that's the one thing. And I think the other thing we talked about a couple of weeks ago was this team has so much potential, not as much pressure as last year with the hard knocks, but it's like they have to prove they know how to win in the big spot with the pressure on them now. You know what I mean? Like this is everybody's saying 12 wins, 13 wins, 14 wins. This team's winning 7-8 games every year. They've never done it before. So they got to prove they can win week in and week out. When they're not playing their best, find a way to win. Like when they face adversity, find a way to win. And that's gonna be interesting to see if they can do that or not.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you could look at Saleh's career record. What is it, like 18-32 or 18-33?
It's bad. Yeah,
it's bad. So I think there is something to that, especially. Well, I mean, especially with the AFC being so stacked, like every single win. I mean, think about it, bro. Like just last season, 22, 21, whatever. Like think about how close December rolls around, right?
Yeah.
Think about how close the seeding is decided. It's like a half game or head-to-head match, whatever it may be, right? It's never like the NBA, right? Obviously, where it's like 8 games behind, 9 games behind. Like every win matters.
Yep.
And luckily for the Jets, the schedule is easier this go round compared to a year ago. So I think that really bodes well. And I think because the Jets disappointed on so many levels last season, it kind of a lot of people jumped off, not necessarily the bandwagon, but even like the negative as well, like LOL Jets, like that whole thing.
Yeah. Well, that's because of Rodgers too, though, man. Because I think a lot of people hate Rodgers to begin with. Now you add in a lost year last year. The year before, he's a little banged up. Like, oh, he's 40 years old. You're not going to get your same old Rodgers. You're going to get a Rodgers that's 75% of himself. But you know what? Even a Rodgers at 85, 90% is still more than enough for this team to win 12 games. Like, that's with all the talent in this team, especially featuring the running game, great defense, solid special teams. That's great. And you figure you're not going to see your best Rodgers the first couple weeks of the season. As the season plays out and he gets more comfortable and the offense gets flowing, come week 10, 12, 13, then you're going to see the offense probably at their best, their best capabilities.
Yeah, dude. Another thing too. I mean, we just talked about it, but just sticking to the run. Like our guys are better than yours. Morgan Moses.
Yep.
Tack, John Simpson, run blocking guard, AVT coming back. You know what I'm saying? Dana, what's going on, man? Hope you're doing well, bro. But yeah, so if our guys are just better than the opponents, kind of like think of like how Tennessee's been playing, not last season, but well, I mean, I guess maybe last season they didn't have a ton of success, but just with Keith Carter and Todd Downing, like it's run the ball, it's physical, it's control, it's not putting the quarterback in, let's make them throw 50 times a game, 45 times a game. It's just hand the ball off, pick positive yards, not go backwards, third and shorts, control. I think if that's what's going on this season for the Jets, and then you ask Aaron Rodgers to be a game manager, dude, he's gonna excel at that and beyond. So like as opposed to like asking Zach Wilson, hey, can you throw it 42 times a game with horrible O-line and a horrible game plan and receivers that are always hurt? That doesn't make any sense, So I'm excited to get back to the ground game.
Now, this is a really good question, something that we've talked about pretty much the entire offseason, especially during free agency and the draft, is who's our primary run stuffer with Fotu out? How's Leonard Taylor in the run game? I think, well, first of all, I think they're counting on Kinlaw, right? I think that's a guy they're going to count on a lot for that. I mean, Leonard Taylor too. Yeah.
No. So, and also, too, Quinnen is good against the run.
Yep.
It's not like he's horrible there, but it's a great question. I think one thing that we have to take notice of, right? What's the starting lineup on first down? Because that's traditionally where teams like to run the ball the most. So if we have Kinlaw in there, the majority of the time, that is an indication that the coaching staff probably likes Kinlaw and Quinnen as a run stuffing duo. And also, too, man, our linebacking core is healthy. And if the linebackers are healthy, I feel pretty good. And granted, I am thinking about San Francisco, right? So like outside zone stuff, like our linebackers have the speed to cut that off.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing. If you're going to attack the Jet defense, you want to offset the pass rush by running the football. And that's going to be their challenge. Stop the run, whether it's Kinlaw, Solomon Thomas. Michael Clemens has got to do his job containing the edge. And then you have consistent linebackers that can make a lot of tackles. But that's definitely a good test for the defense. Here we go. When we win the Super Bowl this year, does Aaron Rodgers stay for a repeat, or does he ride off into the sunset on top?
I think he rides out on top.
100%, dude. He'll be the king of New York. He'll have statues everywhere. I mean, he'll.
Yeah, that's the goal. And if he accomplishes the goal, then he's probably done. But it's a good question.
I hope Reddick shows up soon. Don't feel comfortable with Clemens starting at all. Well, I think the thing is Clemens will probably be first and second down, and then on a pass rush scenario, I'm guessing he comes out. Like, to be honest with you, I really like what I saw at Takk McKinley. His burst off the edge, off the snap, is explosive as hell, and we don't see that at a Clemens, dude. You don't. You see that at Will McDonald, you see that at Jermaine Johnson, but I think McKinley on passing downs will get a lot of opportunities with Reddick if Reddick's not here.
See, the way I'm kind of picturing it is Takk is kind of like the weapon that you'd bring out in like the end of the third quarter and the start of in the rest of the fourth, right? On those big critical downs where it's like you're seeing Johnson, you're seeing McDonald, you're seeing Clemens pretty much cycle through all in, Reddick, cycling through the majority of the game, and the offensive linemen are pretty beat. And then you have a guy that's just lightning quick off the edge and Takk that's fresh. He's hasn't played it down, and he's coming in a minute left in the third quarter. So completely fresh legs, first opportunity, and the offensive tackles are just completely worn down.
Now, what are your expectations for Corley early on, where you didn't see really a lot of him out of the preseason? He showed catch or two, but nothing where you're like, oh my God, like Yak King, there he is. Do you temper your expectations now, saying maybe by the end of the season he'll come on and contribute more? Like, what are your predictions for catches and yards for him? Because I think when he was first drafted, everybody's like, this guy is going to be a Pro Bowler his rookie year, and I'm like, we got to relax. So what do you expect from Corley?
Man, I'm hoping it might the numbers are going to be low, but I'm hoping for like 30 catches or something. I think just again thinking about the Jets being a running football team, Breece, Breeland, Isaiah Davis, then you go to the passing game. Garrett Wilson is going to have 1,000+ yards. If Mike Williams is healthy, I would say he gets 1,000+ yards. You got to, I mean, Xavier Gibson won the job as the starting slot guy. He's probably going to get a fair share of targets. Conklin is a really good tight end. You know, how many passes are really going to be like, is Malachi Corley going to get, 60, 70 passes thrown his way in the season? Probably not. I would just take a guess. I think Corley's going to be pretty dynamic in like the reverse game, or like using him in like a trick play, or just a quick screen on like a 2nd and 8, stuff like that.
Now, the one question that I got a couple days ago was, we did our fantasy football draft, and everybody's like, oh, Breece Hall. Can you see a world where Braylon Allen steals his goal line touchdowns? Like he becomes the short yardage back, the goal line back, and maybe takes away carries from Breece and gets a surprising number of touchdowns? Like, you know what? Maybe he gets 7 or 8. Like, could you see that? Or do you think they're going to keep feeding Breece?
I think 7, 8 is a lot. But I like, to me, you just don't draft 2 young running backs in the mid rounds if you don't plan on using them.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think there was a direct, there was a direct reason we need more running backs. For whatever reason, Michael Carter, the Jets cut him. Bam Knight, no longer with the team.
Yep.
Izzy's now down to RB4. It seems like they want to get more powerful, more strength on the ground. And they also want to preserve Breece. They don't want to just run him into the ground. So, I think in the end, they'll all 3 will see a decent amount of time, in my opinion. But Breece, of course, the lead guy.
Yeah, don't forget.
Yeah, Dalvin Cook. Good call, David. Good call.
Yeah, if you guys got any questions, man, put them in the chat. We'll answer them. What do you think about Garrett Wilson this year? What do you think is his high ceiling for this year? Is it 100 catches, 1,500 yards? Do you see that kind of number? Because I have this funny feeling they're gonna feed him, dude. Like they're not gonna be bashful about it. I think Rodgers actually said that. He's like, sometimes guys are open, sometimes I make them open. Like that's I think that's how he rolls though. Can you see Garrett having a 100-catch season?
100-catch season, I could. I think we're going to be a team on the ground. I sound like a broken record. A team that's on the ground. So if you think about teams that run the football a lot, see, like what I'm kind of picturing for Garrett Wilson is similar to like how Brandon Ayuk looked last season, which is really, really damn good. Yeah. But it's not an offense that is just out there throwing, just spreading the defense out, just picking them apart. I just feel like it's going to be really methodical with Garrett, design plays. We got to get Garrett Wilson the football. Again, like you look at the teams that are good on the ground, like the Ravens are a team that sticks out. The Tennessee Titans, kind of like the similar, again, not like 1-to-1, but like how AJ Brown was with the Titans. Like he was the go-to wide receiver when Derrick Henry wasn't getting the football. And they would specifically design these plays to get AJ Brown the football, and he excelled with it. So I think 1,300 yards is what Garrett's gonna bring in at the end. 1,300 yards, 9 to 10 TDs.
And how many catches? Like 75, 80?
Oh, more than that. I would probably say like low 90s.
Okay. Now you keep saying, I agree with you. I think the Jets are gonna run the ball a ton, as they should. We're out the opposing team, control the clock, everything else. If that's the case, Aaron Rodgers may not have that huge stat year where he has like 4,500 passing yards and 38 touchdowns. It may be like 3,800 yards, 27 touchdowns and 5 picks. Do you see him having that kind of year where it's not the gaudy TD numbers, but very efficient, very effective, and not a lot of interceptions?
I do. I mean, to me, it's just like a lose-lose on so many different in so many different standpoints to have Rodgers drop back so many times. I know we want to see it. I know, it'd be cool if Rodgers was 29, 30 years old, but the reality is 40 coming off the Achilles, great running backs, a great offensive line in the running game. We now have that direction, get more on the ground, control the ball. We have a fantastic defense.
Yep.
We don't need to drop him back. And let's just throw this in there as well. I don't know how people feel about it, but the MetLife turf.
Yeah.
Let's limit the amount of times that Rodgers gets hit. Let's limit the percentages or the odds of Rodgers getting hurt or having to carry the team. There's going to be moments where he has to lead us on a 2-minute drill, and he's going to do that, and we're going to win games. But I just don't see a Joe Burrow, Bengals situation, right, where we're dropping back every plays, out of the shotgun, and Rodgers is just firing down the field, all 4 quarters. It's fireworks. 390 passing yard. Like I'm not really seeing that. I'm seeing that like 280, 320, which is, awesome.
Yeah.
2 TDs, no picks, high completion percentage, those types of things where maybe there's a lot of one score. I think a lot of the Jets games are going to be close. I don't really feel like if the Jets defense was horrible, like 30th or 31st, then it's like, all right, you know what? Rodgers probably gonna have to shoot his way out of games. In order to win games, we're gonna have to hang 34 on an opponent, 35 on an opponent, whatever. But with our defense, man, like 24 points a game would win us so many. So, I just don't see. I think the equation that we're looking at is the Jets are going to be running the football a lot, and Rodgers will be an elite level game manager.
100%.
I'm okay with that. And game manager is not a bad term. I'm not using that as like, oh, he's just he's not a franchise guy. He could only just manage the game. I'm not putting him on like Mike White's level, but he's somebody that just take care of us, man. Like just don't throw picks, hit the open guy, and he's going to do that at such a good job. But at times we're going to need you 2-minute, fourth quarter, whatever, before halftime. And Rodgers is going to say, all right, let's do it, But to expect – sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just think – I agree with you because I'm saying especially early on in the season when he's getting his football legs. He hasn't been hit all preseason. Like getting back under the snap, getting under center, moving around. He's been off for a year. The first 3 or 4 weeks, just run the football, just manage the game effectively. You're going to win the games. You're not worried about that. And then like you said, if you're forced in a situation where he's got to throw the ball, he can. If you have to air it out, you can, but that's not going to be your recipe. But I'm actually thinking less yards than you are. Maybe average like 240 a week, 2 touchdowns, and that's going to be more than enough. 1 rushing touchdown, a field goal, you're winning 12 games easily, like with our defense. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be not as high flying as everybody thinks, but then also you want to see some creativity in the run game and the pass game, using the resources like Corley, using Gibson more effectively, and not just say, okay, it's all Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. I mean, I think Conklin could have a huge year too, but I think you're right. It's going to be more manage the game, more ball control, wear the team out, and let the defense just maul them.
Yeah, dude. So that's a great point, Lauren, about Rodgers wants to win. The thing is when you need him to, you can call on him, and he's not gonna, he's not gonna fall apart like Zach.
Nope.
And then Brian, again, game manager is not really
he wants to win.
It's not a negative term in my opinion.
Nope. If he's running a very efficient offense where they're moving up and down the field and everybody's flourishing, Garrett's getting his yards, Breece is getting his yards, they're winning games, he's not getting beat up, he's going to be happy as hell. Winning is the most important thing here. And if he's getting his, couple hundred yards, 2 touchdowns, and they're winning and they're going, 12 and whatever, he's happy as hell. He's not going to be, we're not worried about it. Because right now, his biggest goal is make the Jets win. That he came here to win games, make the playoffs, and make a run. However they do it, I don't think he really cares. He just wants to see it happen, to give everybody the finger saying, so, you know what? I told you I can do it. Now I'm doing it. Coming off an ACL, no less.
But those are so fantastic numbers, though. Like
I agree.
Let's just say, you average you're throwing 2 touchdowns a week. That's minimum 14 points. That's not including special teams, field goals. It's not including, your running game, TDs, not including special team, potential returns with this new rule. Bare minimum 14 points. And then at the end of the season, how many games are, 17 games? Yep. 17 times 2 is what?
34.
30 something? Yeah. So if you were to tell me, okay, Aaron Rodgers has 34 TDs to end the year to 4 picks, 5 picks,
yep.
like how many wins are going to be on that? Like we're going to have a ton of wins.
Yeah, like I don't think Aaron is going to be infatuated with that at all, where he's got to put up these crazy numbers to prove everybody. I think he wants to take his team that he's inherited here to win games and just change the narrative about everybody, including himself. He came here taking a big chance coming here with the Jets with Sal on the hot seat, all this stuff, a team that hasn't won anything in forever, and now he wants to turn it all around in 1 year. That's what he wants to do. So however he can do it, I think he's going to do it. And I think he knows how good Breece Hall is too. Like, he knows how good the guys are around him. He doesn't have to carry them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, dude, like another thing, it's like there's only so many snaps in a game. So if you have Rodgers throw 40 times a game, and you got to figure Breece is going to be getting, a decent amount of touches, how many, like is Braylon Allen only going to average like 2 carries per game, 3 carries per game?
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah Davis, like 1 every other game. Like, to me, I feel like that's the strength of the team, and we got to play around that. We can't go away from. We can't look at our group of young stud running backs, which we invested a lot of draft capital in, and just say, yeah, we're not going to run the ball that much. We're just going to be throwing it. Rodgers, please save us. Then you factor in the Achilles 40, all those different things. So look, there's going to be games where Rodgers does throw it 40 times, but I do feel as though it might be similar to just kind of that ground and pound Rex Ryan, the Mike Vrabel led teams with Tennessee, not like one-to-one schemes or anything, but just a similar approach. Like, we're going to beat down the other team physically. We're going to always move forward. We're not going to go backwards. We're not going to, have these crazy boneheaded picks and turnovers and go 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. It's ball control, turn the ball, get the ball in the end zone. Do not turn the ball over. Yeah,
and the one, I think it was Sir God Blackman had the comment where it kind of reminds me of the 98 team. And it reminds me of the same thing, too, because in 98, you had Testaverde. I think he had like 29 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. And you had Keyshawn and Corbett, but it was Curtis Martin running the ball. Like, Curtis Martin ran. It opened the play action pass, opened up your passing game. But it was like, you knew when you played the Jets, you're getting a whole lot of Curtis Martin. You got to try to stop him. This is me to say that stop Breece Hall. And then if you try to do that, they're going to pick you apart with our weapons that we have on the outside. So I think that's a really good analogy right there. I didn't think about that one.
It's actually really, really good.
And they had a great defense in 98 too. Great defense. They had a lot of playmakers there. They had a Hall of Fame coach. Unfortunately, we don't have that, but it's a lot of similarities.
Yeah. Let me just see real quick what Rodgers' stats were in 22. Okay, so Rodgers threw in 2022, so the year that Green Bay missed the playoffs. Rodgers last year there, 26 touchdowns, 12 picks. 36 or just under 3,700 yards. In 21, Rodgers had 37 TDs, and this was, I believe, the MVP year.
Yeah, it was. Yep.
Or one of the MVP years. 37 touchdowns, 4,100 yards, 4 picks. What was the stat line that we just talked about, right? Where you average just 2 TDs a game. You know, that's 30 something, 34.
Yep.
5-6 picks. That's similar to the MVP numbers from 2021. And let's just kind of throw out a random number. What was it you said for the passing yards? 230. Let's just
like 240, 230, 240.
Yeah, if he averages 230 passing yards per game, 2 touchdowns, 3,900 passing yards with 34 TDs.
And that's not outlandish. It's not outlandish numbers. Like 2 touchdowns a week is not saying that's not crazy.
Yeah.
And 230 a week is not like, that's not asking a lot, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and Rodgers has never really been the type of quarterback to throw for a ton of yards like he has in, 09. Jesus, man. 2009, 4,400 yards in 2009. Crazy. And then in 2018, also 4,400 yards.
Yep.
4,600 yards in 2011. But, you're seeing kind of what these quarterbacks are throwing for now. And it's almost like 4,000 is just like, that's like the entry level to become or to be talked about as like an elite quarterback.
Yeah, the game's changing a little bit though. It depends on your offense, how the offenses are attacking these defenses. Like, if he's 20, like this is what I kind of see, like 21 of 27, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns. And that's like very efficient, very effective, that gets the job done, scores points, and that wins you a lot of games.
Dude, I'm just looking at some of these stats, man. Josh Allen has thrown for so many yards. Last 4 years, he's thrown over 4,200 yards. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Two of them have been one was 4,400, one was 4,500. crazy. I wonder what Patrick Mahomes looks like. But yeah, dude, I mean, top to bottom, like if Aaron Rodgers puts up those numbers, I mean, you factor that in with a top 5 Jets defense, we're going to be solid, man. Solid.
Yeah, no, it's like, and you can't wait to see it. Like now it's like we had all the anticipation last year, like, oh, Aaron Rodgers. Now it's like this team's actually better than last year's team. So it's like you're even more excited, and it's like it's tangible. You can buy in because you see much better offensive line, much better playmakers. Now you just want to see it happen. Like now I'm like, they left training camp and preseason relatively healthy for the most part, which is great. Now it's like just get us to San Fran, man. Like the next week and a half, like everybody's out of trouble. Don't go out on the holiday weekend. Like let's just get there now.
Yes, sir, man. I mean, hey, well, we got through training camp injury free, as you know, outside of the lucky photos and stuff. I'm talking like big injury, season long stuff.
So we covered a lot, man.
We did.
Is there anything else you got to cover? That we had a 53-man. Next week we do our first preview, man. Listen? We finally made it, dude. We made it through all of this long. This offseason seemed like it was forever, but we finally can do previews now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited, man. Like, football is finally here, and also too, man. Like the pod's gonna be running through the entire season and into the offseason, so it's gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah,
so like just so everybody knows, we're 7:00 every Tuesday. We bounce back and forth between here and JetsCentral. So if we're not here, we're there every Tuesday, 7:00. We got lucky today was cut down day, so it's perfect. We can talk about this. Yeah. But then next week's preview game, right after the holiday weekend, I'll be all sunburnt and hungover. We can talk about the 49ers.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. I'm pumped.
So thank you guys for joining us. Definitely appreciate it. Have a great holiday weekend, and we'll talk to you guys later on.